Advanced Financial Modeling, Topic 12, International Finance. Some references from Benninga are below, and let's go with learning objective number 1. We're going to interpret and use currency quotes to convert foreign exchange transactions. So before we talk about foreign exchange prices, let's first of all talk about just commodity prices in general. This is one of my favorite commodities in the world. It's a latte. The price of that short latte is about $3.30 in US. So we say the direct quote for one latte is $3.30 per latte. This is called a direct quote for an American since it's a dollar price. Now I could take 1 over 330, and that's 0.303, and say that an alternative way to communicating the price is it's 0.3 lattes per dollar. So I can exchange one latte for $3.30, but in theory I can exchange 0.303 lattes for $1. Now that 0.303 lattes per dollar, that would be called an indirect quote for a latte for an American. Luckily, lattes are always quoted in direct terms. Here's another commodity. It's called a euro. At the time, a euro was selling for about $1.10. That's a direct quote for this one coin for an American. That's a direct quote for a euro for an American. Now, I can take 1 over 1.1, which is 0.909, and quote the price as 0.909 euros per dollar. So I can say it cost $1.10 to buy a euro, but it costs 0.9 euros to buy $1. Now that's an indirect quote. When I say 0.9 euros to buy $1, that's an indirect quote for a euro for an American. Luckily, euros are usually quoted in direct terms for Americans, along with several other currencies, the Australian dollar, the British pound, and the New Zealand dollar. Here's another one of my favorite currencies in the world, Danish crown. All right, Danish crown can buy me beer in Copenhagen. So the price of a crown is about 16 cents. So 16 cents will buy you 1 crown. The direct quote then is 16 cents per crown. This is a direct quote for a crown for an American. By the way, it does say krone, but most people just say crown when you're over there. All right, so you could take 1 over 0.16, which is 6.25, and say it's 6.25 crown to buy $1. So that would be an indirect quote for a crown for an American, 6.25 crown to buy $1. The crown is usually quoted in indirect terms, like the Japanese yen, the Swiss franc, the Canadian dollar, the Chinese yuan, the Mexican peso, Brazilian real, and almost every other currency besides these that I've mentioned here and the euro. So you have direct and you have indirect quotes, which messes everything up. So how do you know what quote you're looking at besides trying to memorize what those 4 that are usually direct but not always are? Well, there's a way of figuring out the madness. When you have to choose a currency price, the price of one currency in terms of another, there's always a certain format. So if you just Google on your phones right now, EUR USD, just go ahead and type EUR, don't have to put a dash in there, but you can, EUR USD, you'll get a price of about $1.10. So how did it know to give you $1.10 per euro and not 0.9 euros per dollar? Because when you type EUR first in any financial system and almost any system in the world, you're asking, give me a price of €1. The second currency is, and quote it in this currency. So the EUR USD in this day was about $1.09. But if I were to type in USD EUR, what it should give me is about 0.9, because you're asking for what is the price of $1 quoted in currency. So when you see 2 currencies together, smushed together, and by the way, all currencies have a 3-character code. The euro is the EUR, the dollar is the USD, the British pound is the GBP, Japanese yen, JPY, Australian dollar, Canadian dollar, CHF, that's always the confusing one. That's the Swiss franc. So you probably know the rest. So when you see 2 currency codes together, the first one is what you're about to get one price of, and the second one is what you're going to be quoted in. So we say the first currency is the base currency. That's the commodity you're about to get a price of. The second currency is a quote currency. So in theory, if a latte was a currency and you wanted the price, you'd say LAT for latte USD, and hopefully that will give you the $3.30. All right, so if you look at these quotes, this is the dollar price of £1. This is the yen price of $1. This is the dollar price of 1 Aussie. This is the Canadian price of $1, and so on. So that's how you figure it out. Currency conversions. You can always convert one currency to another by multiplying some amount of currency by an exchange rate. So suppose suppose the USD CAD exchange rate, that's the Canadian price of $1, is 1.05 Canadian per $1. That's an indirect quote for a Canadian for American. So how many CAD Canadians can you exchange for 100 US dollars? Well, you just set up the problem this way. Write the one currency you know, $100. And you want to get Canadian. How many Canadians for $100? I need to multiply times an exchange rate. And the exchange rate is either dollar per Canadian, the dollar price of 1 Canadian, or the Canadian price of $1. How do I know which one to multiply by? Well, you can think of it this way. If I multiply times the Canadian price of $1, in some sense these cancel out, and what goes forward are Canadians. So what I need for it to convert from dollars to Canadian is a Canadian over dollar exchange rate, which is 105, which we said here. But what if we had a different problem? How many US dollars you get for 100 CAD? Well, type your 100 CAD. You know you want to get dollars. So I need CAD down here to cancel out. So I want dollars up here. So I need the dollar price of 1 CAD. But I'm only given the CAD price of $1, so I got to flip it. So I'm going to multiply 100 times 1 over 105, or you can just say 100 divided by 1.05 is 95. And the last one we'll talk about is cross rates. Suppose you want to buy 100 crown and sell pounds. You want the pound price of a crown. That kind of rhymes. So if I want to know the pound price of a crown, the problem is you probably aren't going to be quoted that. Most currencies are quoted against the major currencies, say the dollar and the euro. So if I want the pound price of a crown, but everything's quoted against the dollar, what I could do is multiply the pound price of a dollar times the dollar price of a crown. The dollars cancel out, and what goes forward is that pound per crown. So on that last slide, the pound price of a dollar, if I look for, over here, if I look for the pound price of a dollar, well, this is the dollar price of a pound. So I would probably take 1 over 1.5. And then I needed the dollar price of a crown. And that wasn't over there, but that was around, I knew the crown price of a dollar was 6. So it would probably be 1 over 6. So that's how you do it. That's how you get the pound price of a crown. Here are some practice problems. If you go to the spreadsheet, you can see practice problems. How many dollars would it cost to buy 100 euros? I just take 100 euros times the dollar per euro. How many euros would it cost to buy $100? I take the $100 times 1 over the dollar per euro. How many dollars would it cost to buy 1,000 Japanese yen? And you can see I take the 1,000 yen times the dollar over yen, which is flipping the yen over dollar. And then how many JPY would it cost to buy $1,000? I take my $1,000 times the JPY per dollar exchange rate. So that'll help you out and do a little practice.